Alright guys, back with another breakdown video. James DeLacy here from Sweet Science of Fighting. Taking a break from some of those more in-depth videos that I've been doing for you. Make sure you check those out if you haven't already on the channel. Breaking down the new paradigm in MMA conditioning. I just did a whole series on myth-busting the lactic acid theory, or how people poo-poo it when it shouldn't be. But today we're going to cover Israel Adesanya's new video on his UFC return as strength and conditioning program. So we're going to kind of break down maybe what they're trying to achieve from this, what you can learn from it, what you can take away. Again, nothing against fighters, coaches, anything like that, just my opinions, my experiences, basically put into this. So I skimmed through this before. Don't need sound for it, I know that. Here's some voiceover. So they got his strength conditioning coach. I think he actually learned under Coach Sons, who was Israel's previous S&C. So this is all old session. I broke down the old one. Okay, so we're into the new session now. So this is for his return. So if we're going to place this session in context, and again, I'm assuming a lot of things. In context, this would be kind of like a base preparation period. So essentially like the very first phases of building back. So it looks like we're starting with some extensive plyometric work over different height surfaces. I really like this. This is something that I've employed and used often as well. And it's essentially serves two purposes. Obviously you're doing your plyometric exercise on the floor, trying to get on and off the floor as quickly as possible. So you can, for example, doing them in place, right? Pogos in place, ankle pops, however you want to call them. And you're just improving that ability to rapidly get on and off the floor, improving lower limb stiffness. So being able to rapidly get on and off the floor, rapidly produce force, use that elastic energy. But when you're adding different height surfaces there as well, you're challenging the ability to pre-tense before you hit the ground. So you're having to essentially modulate around the environment. And if you've listened to any of the podcasts or along with like John Mackey, Scott Severwright, Sean Miska, when we talk about the ecological approach to training or constraints-led approach to training for fighters, this would be like the physical preparation version of that. So you're essentially changing the environment to challenge the body to adapt, to be able to essentially still produce force quickly, but having to modulate the different heights throughout. So it looks like we've got the same thing going on here. Single leg. Yep, same thing here. So single leg. You're still fire. So yeah, we're still firing again. So this would be like a preparation period. So it's a good place to put a lot of those extensive or submaximal plyometrics. So now it looks like we have a deficit kettlebell stiff-legged deadlift. And getting that big stretch on the hamstring. So getting that extra range of motion. We're just trying to keep him strong and a long lever. Yeah. That's the thing with strength training, right? You don't have to fear different ranges of motion. If you're strong in the ranges of motion, you're less likely to get injured if you're put into that range. Then also we have a very tough step-up variation. So double front rack with the kettlebell challenges the upper back. And then we're doing a step up starting from the knee down. So it means the back leg can't offer any help essentially. And then it looks like they're doing, instead of just doing a step up, they're almost emphasizing the hip as they step up. So you see he doesn't get into that full, well, that one he did. But the hips come through first as the main thing there. So boom, up. So yeah, that's a pretty solid exercise too, especially for single leg strength. Two good exercises. So we've done some extensive plyometrics, and then we've done some deficit kettlebell stiff-legged deadlifts, and then some single leg step-ups. Now we're into the upper body. So alternating dumbbell bench, unilateral chest press. This is one of those ones that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think it achieves anything more than if you were to do it with just two arms at the same time, or if you're going to do one dumbbell at a time but not holding the other one. So typically if you're doing like a single arm dumbbell bench, if you're not holding a weight in the other hand, you're not counterbalanced, and therefore it's a little more challenging having to resist rotation, which he actually just mentioned there, versus when you're holding the other hand, you you've counterbalanced it, so the rotation isn't as strong, right? That's just something to be aware of. Same thing with those rows. I'm not a huge fan of alternating rows either like that. I prefer to just do them one arm at a time with one thing and nail it versus holding that position. But again, just for general prep stuff, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And then also we've got weighted chin-up isometrics, or actually also negatives. So weighted negatives, solid exercise, this one too. For clinch strength, yep, definitely good for pulling strength. You can even do this, this is almost looks like an eccentric quasi-isometric you could do. So you could just hold the position where essentially your upper arm is parallel to the floor, and if you hold that for as long as you can, and then just let your fatigue bring you down to the bottom, that's another way of doing something like that too that's very effective. Then also we're into some ab work with medicine ball throws. More fighters should be doing things like this, I think, especially with the throws, overhead throws, rotational throws, the partner passing you, essentially throwing you the ball, so you have to quickly go from eccentric to concentric versus just doing a bunch of crunches and sit-ups and stuff, which do have value, but there is more to it as well. And then we're into a back extension. So you can do back extensions on queer hand raisers, 45 degree. They'll do pretty much the same thing. So this one, he's doing how I typically like to do and teach the back extension. That is thrusting your hips through the pad. So almost think about like a straight leg hip thrust, instead of trying to bring your shoulders up or trying to think about arching your lower back to come up. You thrust your hips forward through the pad. And it just gives a completely different feeling to the exercise as well, and it makes it way more hip dominant than just the back. But that's everything in the video. But yeah, it's actually a pretty solid session for just general physical preparation. Again, we don't know how the rest of the week is going as well, so we don't know if the rest of the week has heavier lifting in it, and kind of what the plan is going forward, maybe what they're trying to prepare the body to be able to perform later on. We don't know a lot of these things, but just as a general snapshot, yeah, it's not bad. I think as he gets through this preparation period, I would assume that there potentially is a little more heavy lifting, and then there would be a more intensive style of jumps, plyometrics, and throws, etc. In there as they progress. But I will keep an eye on it and see if he posts any more of these as he gets through his fight preparation. But stay tuned for more videos.